So it's with great pleasure that I'm presenting the latest film by Pedro Almodóvar. It's Pain and Glory. It was a huge hit in Cannes. We've had many of his films here at TIFF over the year, including Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Love that film. Talk to Her. Yeah, he received the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for that incredible film. Bad Education. Volver, Julieta, and now we have Pain and Glory. And to introduce his latest film, it's a huge pleasure to, yes, can you believe? I know, it's so exciting. Pedro Almodóvar and Antonio Banderas.
Thank you, thank you. Oh my God. You're accustomed to that, Antonio?
Unbelievable. Feel like singing something.
Okay. So, good evening, Toronto. Cinema is probably the most important experience of my life. The characters in my films always go to the movies, talk about cinema, and explain themselves through films that they've seen. Or in the case of Pain and Glory, they make films for a living. My life has indirectly found its way into every picture I've made. However, Pain and Glory is the most intimately representative of me. In it, I have deposited everything that I own. My furniture, my paintings, my clothes, my intimacy, and few goals, my childhood memories, and my need to carry on making films as my only way of life. Not being strictly an autobiographical movie, everything is mixed up with fiction. The character played by Antonio Banderas is an extension of myself. From the time I started writing the script, and remembering Fellini, who had already made a monumental film about a director going through a crisis, I considered Antonio to be my rightful Mastroianni. And yeah, absolutely, and this is just to say something big. This movie would not have been possible without his delicate, emotional, and intense performance. He never, for an instant, tried to imitate me. But many people in Spain tell me that there is a moment when they no longer see Antonio, but they see me. I believe that this is the most flattering thing that one can say about the extraordinary performance of my friend Antonio. And this is like that. This film is about many things, including my love for cinema and my wish, as is in this festival, for the big wide screen behind me now, not to disappear from our lives. Thank you for being here tonight, and I hope Pain and Glory can please you, move you, and keep company for many days to come. Antonio, now there is your time. Thank you.
First of all, I had no idea that he was going to say what he just said.
My English is much worse of you, so I have to prepare it.
The second thing that I have to say is that I don't have the glasses on because it looks cool. I have the glasses on because I have an infection in this eye, and I look like the Phantom of the Opera. And so I just prefer just to have this thing that actually looks like Pedro Almodóvar in the red carpet because he got a problem with photophobia.
Always use it.
Yeah, and
but
he uses
today
that.
I make an exception for you.
Here you go.
I want you to see my eyes.
The adventure of working with this gentleman over here for 40 years is very difficult to describe. I would be nobody without him. That is the reality. I don't worry. I did my first
You're
movie
talented,
with Pedro.
Antonio, behind
I did
me.
my first movie with you. You know, it's funny. When we met, I was in the National Theatre in Spain. I was doing a Pedro Calderón de la Barca play, and I was with some actors outside having a cup of coffee. And then a guy with a red briefcase appeared, and he just threw us a huge monologue. He was very funny, he was very fast, he was very ingenious, and by the time, I spent with us 20 minutes, he stood up and he looked at me and he says, you know what, you should do movies because you got a very romantic face. And then he left. And
Yeah,
and
he was with a big mustache.
yeah,
really,
I got a mustache
big,
and long hair. And so he left, and I asked the other actors that were having the cup of coffee with me, who is this guy? And they say, oh, his name is Pedro Almodóvar. He made one movie, but he will never do another one.
You know, this is the famous Spanish envy. Fortunately, they were wrong.
Yeah, we are very good at many things, but we are not good prophets. And,
But you know, after that, I immediately called him because I was writing Labyrinth of Passion. That was the 81.
That's right.
And we made a very short audition. I remember that I told you, just walk. Because you know, the Spanish people, I'm going to tell you something I cannot say in Spain. They don't know how to walk. We walk like animals, like this. And, I mean, he walks like an animal, like a young animal. And I was very impressed. And also, I told him, well, Antonio, I mean, you just walk and just try to look up and just to look at me or whatever, or whoever there, in an intense way. And he did it. And I'm telling you that I promise that I'm telling the truth. I was sure in that moment that this guy was born to this. I mean, not talking to you on a stage, but to make movies. Also to be on stage too.
You know, what is funny about that day, that is true. You know, we shot that. The camera was between this and this. So, you know, I got in movies by balls, literally.
Yeah, but the audition, it was like that. It was just you were walking. That was after we make a close-up of that thing that sometimes you have to do it. You know? So I'm very moved watching you. I mean, and this is incredible just to find such an enthusiastic audience. You believe the better movie in the world. Now, I don't know if this is exactly the movie you deserve, but we did our best.
We'll see them.
Thank you.
And guess what? They'll be back for the Q&A after the film. So enjoy it.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was very moving. Thank you, Toronto. We have some time to, where do you want, do you want me to stand on this side? Yeah, your ear. You hear better from
I
this.
hear only by this ear. You know, I'm very imperfect.
So we have some time to talk about the film with Pedro and Antonio. I wanted to, does anyone want to start? Do we have some questions from the audience? We've got lots, okay.
I mean, I know it's
I'm
difficult to talk
I'm gonna-
immediately, yes,
I know.
if you
I
have seen
know.
the movie.
The first thing I want to say is thank you for creating this. It's hard to find words to describe it. It's too emotional. And I wanted to ask you, how do you leave the pain? What did you draw from to connect with the pain and be able to show it in that screen?
So the question is about how he was able to show the pain on screen, what he was, los fuentes que pudo utilizar para demostrar ese dolor en la pantalla, how he was able to show that pain on the screen.
Sometimes life is just very surprising in many different ways. The first thing that I knew is that the creation of this character, this is very interesting and very weird, but the creation of this character started 9 years ago. And it started here, in this theater. And let me explain this. For 22 years, we didn't work together. Of course, we have been friends for all that time, but he called me to do the skin I live in. And I came to the rehearsals with a backpack, with a suitcase filled with American experiences. And I put that in the table and I said, well, Pedro, this is what I am now. This is the actor that I am. I am more secure in front of the camera. I just work with my voice. I do these things and I have all these new tools. And after several days rehearsing, he kind of said to me, Antonio, that must be very useful for your American directors. But it doesn't work totally for me. And he made a question one day. I was leaving his house and he said to me, where are you? And so at that time, I not confronted him, but you got certain resistance. So the shooting of The Skin I Live In, it was always creative. He's my friend. We respect each other, of course. But but it was more tense than normal, But then I came here. And for the first time, I saw the movie with an audience in this theater. And I just couldn't believe that the capacity that Pedro had to bring out of me a character that I didn't know I had inside. And so it was a big lesson. And I was always in my mind all of these years, if I was going to work with him again or not. So when I received the script of Pain and Glory, I couldn't believe it, that my friend, actually, and the director that I respect the most in my entire career, trusted me to play an alter ego that he did. And then we started a process in which I took all my medals, all those American tools, everything that I brought, and we start from the scratch to create this character. And then there was another circumstances, and then I just finished with this answer. And that is a personal circumstance. 2.5 years ago, I suffered a heart attack. And it's one of the best things that happened in my life, my friends. Because it came to show you a number of things. It shows you basically what is important in life. And you see your family, you see your friends, and you see your turf. I don't want to say professional life, but the vocation of made me an actor. And Pedro is very perceptive, and he said to me in the rehearsal, there is something that had changed in you since you had that cardiac event, and I don't want you to hide it. I want you to just expose it in the character. I think it's going to be good for the character. So I knew exactly what he was talking, what he talked to me on the rehearsal one day there in his house about that. So I tried just to put it up front and renounce to everything that I did before, in a way. And just in a resume, I try metaphorically to kill Antonio Banderas to be him. Yeah.
No, he was really, I remember that first calling him and sending him the script. I saw one picture of you when you, very recently after the surgery. And I mean, it's awful to talk about that in that sense. I was happy in the sense that I found pain in your face. And I thought, because of course, I mean, the image of Antonio is always someone very healthy, good looking, and sexy and all that. Yeah, I mean, he is like that. But that picture, that it was, an ordinary picture that I saw in the papers, then I could see that he had the experience of pain, and that was very important for the character, because the character doesn't talk so much about it. Even as me, as a director, I didn't want to be complaining, just respecting the people that really are suffering for many all diseases that they are incurable and they are much worse than the character in the movie. So to respect of that people, I also try to be very short, telling all the kind of sicknesses. So I made a list and I put it together and do it in like in animation to be shorter in the narration of the movie. But fortunately, I thought that I need a talk to Antonio, saying that, I mean, not exactly this, but Antonio, I need you to be like acting like anti-Antonio Banderas. I mean, this was not so cruel, but what I needed is that, what I said is that I needed not his bravura, his natural bravura, his natural passion. He was a character that is delivering and depression, so it is in another rhythm. And he understood that since the very beginning. I thought that I should tell him, but he understood that since he read the script, so it was not necessary. And for me, it was a real spectacle to watch him changing and doing things that I never saw him doing. For me, I have to say that this is for perhaps the time that it was easier for me as a director to direct him. But because he's as good as that, and also very clever to understand that it was necessary a change after the skin I live in, and he understood it perfectly. So we are here to celebrate it with you.
We've got a question up front, and I'll get to you next. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to go to her first. I'm sorry. There's a lot.
So my question is twofold.
Yeah.
First, I'm here with my sister who has a neuro disorder, and one of the components of her disorder is choking. And I was wondering if this Forrester's or component that you had in the book is an actual thing.
If the
Yeah.
Yes, if the
Forrester disease is a real disease that you had.
yeah, if the Forrester's disease is, if that's a real disorder, is the question?
Yeah. I don't know how to say it in English. Se llama síndrome de Forrestier.
Okay, so it's called Forrester syndrome.
Es una enfermedad muy misteriosa porque no se sabe qué la provoca.
Okay, so it's something very mysterious because it's unknown what causes it.
Y sí, yo lo tengo, pero el síndrome puede desarrollarse o puede no desarrollarse.
Okay, pero tú lo tienes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and yes, I have it, but the syndrome can develop or not.
Lo que hace es que misteriosamente se te calcifica la parte anterior de la columna vertebral. Entonces yo tengo 2 o 3 vértebras aquí con un poco calcificadas, que se debe a síndrome de Forrestier, que eso hace que después la espalda esté más rígida, el cuello, etc. Entonces, por ejemplo, mi rango, ya se lo digo a ellos, yo no puedo mirar mucho hacia aquí. Esto es lo máximo que puedo mirar. Entonces no puedo, como una endemoniada, volverme tengo que volverme entero. Entonces, ya para terminar, el caso que muestro the case that I saw in the movie is a real case, but it's an extreme case that I found it in internet, but there is, this is a mysterious disease that there is not many people in. So I have it, but very in the smallest state.
So
But
you're-
that's possible, but that's completely possible.
So the vertebra becomes calcified, and it makes it very difficult for mobility. Quick.
My question is that my sister also has difficulty communicating, and when you left the stage when you first came out, I had to, I turned around because she had something to say to me, and she said, Antonio, so I just wanted to tell you, you have a very strong effect on
Yeah.
communication because you're willing to say anything, and
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when she was saying it. I had to get close, but she was very excited that you're on stage.
I will go downstairs, after and I will hug her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll be there, honey, for sure.
Thank you. So she has a disorder, she cannot speak, but she was able to say Antonio's name, which is amazing. Amazing. We had a question at the front. Go ahead. And I'll-
Pedro, it's just about your choices for the look of the film, production design, cinematography, such beautiful, vivid colours and production design. And the contrast between the childhood scenes and present day in terms of the look of the film.
So the questions about the production design, the colors that he uses, the shift between past and present.
Yeah, even the movies is more somber than the others movies that I did. But what I wanted to say is that this character have a very lightful life, a very colorful life. And even if I am changing now, like in Julieta and here, I think I became more austere and more sober, but always with bright colors. This is the way that I feel the movies. The movies that I remember from my childhood, they were Technicolor movies, and they were full of bright and impossible colors. Because of the chemistry in that moment was like that. So I think I was always trying to look for that coloration in my movies. So that's why it depends on the DP, because now it's impossible to get that colors on the laboratories. But I try to put in front of the camera all these bright colors, and also because all they belongs to the character of Antonio in the movie. Even in the moment that I saw he is, living in this kind of depression after having a lot of pain in the back. But this is the way that I think it fits better to my characters and also to my movie. Even if I'm a little more sober, but not the coloration. The colors, the movies for me is always a representation of life. It's not natural life. It's just we represent reality.
Thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, we have to go, but I want to thank you so much for sharing your film with us, for being here today. We love you.
I'm going to say that.